LSU. I said, they ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU, huh? They ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU. We the best in the league if you looking for talent. LSU going hard, but we beat Alabama, then we going out to Florida. Drown the Gators, everybody getting bucked when we step in the stadium. This the LSU anthem, you know it's a hit. You don't know another rapper two-step like this. See me screaming out the window, yelling purple and gold. I'm an LSU fan, girl, you know how we roll now. Back and back it on up. Hey, 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 way down in the back.
TA. We are live. Welcome to the Monday edition of the Tigers Avenue Show, coming off of, Zach, the opening weekend of SEC play. And it was a good one for the Tigers. LSU faced Missouri and come away with the sweep. That's what you wanted to see. You're a much better team than Missouri. You should have swept them, and you did what you were supposed to do. So before we dive into the details of all of that, yes, you were supposed to sweep Missouri. You did what you're supposed to do. You got 3 wins. Good start. Zach, that's the first time in a while LSU has swept an open SEC series. First time, I think, if I remember correctly, it said since 2019. That shocked me. First time to sweep opening SEC weekend since 2019.
It's hard to do. It's very hard to do.
I mean, you're including the championship team in that. I mean, not even the championship team swept opening weekend. So, what you were able to accomplish this weekend was not any easy task. Needless to say, though, SEC play is certainly here. There was lots that you saw this weekend to tell you more about this team, that you learned more about this team, learned some more about the SEC. I certainly want to talk about that a little bit. So, obviously, we'll give you a recap of this weekend, our thoughts on this weekend, good things, bad things, what we want to see moving forward, and then maybe a little bit of this coming weekend. Obviously, we'll give you a big preview, but you're going to be tested big time this weekend in Austin against the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah.
A good team coming off of a sweep of Mississippi State. So big time matchup headed for you this weekend. So it was really important that you got off on the right foot in conference play with the sweep against Missouri. We'll talk about the bullpen a little bit. Maybe some issues there, some things to look at there, how maybe how you handle things moving forward. Certainly, I think this weekend you definitely learned about some of the guys that Jay really trusts. Used multiple times, several different guys, couple guys several times. And so we'll talk about the bullpen in detail, because that was something I think we really, really highlighted going into SEC play. And so we'll talk about how they fared this weekend. And the women's tournament seeding as well. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about matchups, where LSU has fallen in the bracket, and all of those good things relative to March Madness. Zach, with March Madness here, man, we got to pick a bracket. RP finally able to catch a live. Good to see you in here, RP. Appreciate you being in here. But yeah, Zach, we got to pick a bracket or something. We normally do. I want to pick one. So maybe we ought to do a couple brackets and keep up with it like we do with Dad normally.
Yeah, for sure.
See who can get the best record. With that being said, Zach, off the top of your head, if you had to pick a team to win the men's tournament and to win the women's tournament, who would your 2 choices be?
Oh, man. Men's, I mean, you got to feel like it's going to be somebody out of the SEC. They've been so dominant. I don't know. I'm having a really hard time. I really think, obviously Auburn's been labeled as the best team in the country for most of the season. Florida has really come on strong here lately, and Tennessee had a really good showing in the SC tournament. I would say probably one of those teams gets it done. In the women's side, I mean, you can't go without mentioning South Carolina potentially repeating, which I absolutely hate to think about, but it's a good possibility. It's a good bet to make, right? They're odds-on favorite. So, but you've got teams like Texas and USC, Notre Dame. I mean, you got a lot of really good teams on the women's side as well. It really depends on the draw, and from those teams got a more favorable draw. I like LSU's draw, even though they're partnered up with USC as the 1 seed. But I'll talk about that later. But
I thought it was UCLA that they got paired up with.
I'm sorry. Yes, it is UCLA. Yeah,
Okay.
UCLA. You could also mention UCLA. Like UCLA looks really good all season. So, I mean, really though, Reagan, can we ever really know? I mean, I don't know. It's March Madness,
man. It's March Madness.
You've got 64 teams, and out of 64 teams, one of those teams is going to win it all. So I mean, it's not like football where you've got like a 1 out of 4 shot, or now a 1 out of 12 shot to guess who's going to win. I mean, you got a 1 out of 64 shot with both men's and women's, and it just makes it really difficult. Who's playing the hottest right now will obviously come into factor. How does LSU look as far as now being more healthy and getting Flage back, getting Anissa Mora back? We've seen them compete with the best teams in the country. How does that look now that you're in a neutral site venue? You're not, going on true road games, like you did in the SEC. So, I mean, I would think the women's, I'm going to have a more difficult time picking which team I would think is going to win it all. For the men, I really think you can narrow it down to probably 3 to 4 teams, probably. I do feel like it's going to be a team out of the SEC, but who knows, Reagan? We'll see.
Yeah. If I had to pick somebody at this current moment, I think men's, I would pick Florida. So I agree with you, Danny. Women's is hard. I don't know. I hate to say this, but I don't think I would pick LSU. I wouldn't pick LSU at this moment to win it all. I don't know. Like you said,
mean we're not you mean we're not the super biased fans with the purple and gold glasses?
Yeah, I don't foresee it. It's a tough draw. You got to beat UCLA. Even Florida State is in. You could be playing them quickly. So it's tough. It's tough. I don't know who I would pick off the top of my head, but I would pick Florida. Also, Danny Girl, yes, softball team, Zach, is phenomenal.
Yeah, they've been really good.
Sydney Berzon, phenomenal.
Yeah.
You might as well pitch her every game. She's fantastic. Danica Coffey, much like Curiel, is just a fantastic leadoff hitter. Lassiter is just so consistent for you, I feel like, as well. And Bergon behind the plate, she produces a lot. I mean, there's a lot of players to give their props to.
Got to give them the flowers.
I mean, Tori Edwards as well, the Bash sisters. I love it. It's a special team. I will say this, Danny. I love the softball team to death. I do. And I do think they're very good. I mean, they're 27-1. I mean, they've been very dominant. They're top 5 team. They just came off of a sweep of Kentucky, a top 25 matchup. The only thing with the softball team is the postseason.
They struggle in the postseason.
With Beth Farina, it's like they can't get over the hump in the postseason. And it's not just the postseason. It's like they can't make it to Oklahoma City, it feels like, ever. Like I want to see them in Oklahoma City really bad, but it feels like we can never get there. I hope that this season proves me wrong. I really do. I really hope they prove me wrong.
She said it's Beth Trina, the Ryan Day of softball.
The SEC. I mean, look, SEC softball. People don't talk about it enough. Is a lot like SEC baseball.
Yeah,
extremely competitive. Very, very tough. Week in, week out. It's just as hard to win. It is. So maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. Ryan Day, though, kind of broke through this year. So maybe Beth Torina can break through as well. I would love that for her. I really would because I like Beth Torina a lot. But, yeah, this team has been fun to watch. A lot to be excited about this team and obviously be keeping up with them even more. So, and I do appreciate, Danny, you've been knocking on that door and trying to get the recognition for the softball team that they really deserve, and they do deserve it. So, yes, absolutely. And maybe we can feature them here soon. Really feature them with
it's hard to get as many sports into it as there is to go around, especially this time of year with women's basketball and baseball and spring football. It's hard. It's difficult. We need a set of women,
Danny,
again, like us, to do what we're doing. Yeah,
there you go. But yes, they're awesome. They really are, and I watch them anytime I can.
They're fun to watch.
Nothing else is going on. I mean, I'm turning it on, so
yeah.
I watch as much LSU stuff as I can. But yeah, they're awesome. They really have been. And man, Sydney Burzon, I've just been very impressed with her, obviously. So, all right, check out Justin. We know Justin pretty well, actually. He strictly covers softball reports well.
Went to the spring went to the spring game with him. I know you weren't there, Reagan, but I got to visit with Justin at the spring game 2 years ago. I think LSU football spring game, something like that.
Yeah, good guy. I like Justin a lot, and good for him for covering softball that well. So, with that being said, baseball weekend, just like softball. Comes away with a sweep opening weekend for both Tigers and on the diamond. And there was lots to like, lots to discuss. Zach, there is one thing that just really surprised me. I was pleased with our performance this weekend. You had two games where you pretty much controlled the whole game. You had one game, the Saturday game, where you did have control of this game, but it just kept they just kept kind of chipping away. But I really think you were in control of the game. There was the point when the bases were loaded, right?
In the eighth inning,
that was kind of the teetering point, but for the most part, you felt like you had control of that game. However, LSU was the better team this weekend. That was obvious. And they won, I feel like, the way they should have. You had two pretty dominant games and one close game, which is good for you. You need games like that at times where it's tough. And
that's going to happen in the SEC.
It's going to happen. Yeah. And it was really awesome. You had a really big crowd. You had 11,000 plus in Alex Box Stadium. It was really rocking, right, in the eighth inning to see Kaysen get that strikeout. That was a big moment. I think that was the moment of the weekend, I guess you could say. Just felt like, okay, man, SEC baseball is really back. Like that was the moment where it was like, yeah, that was awesome. Zach, Kate Anderson gives you another fantastic outing on Saturday. Extended its career long. I wish he could have gotten out of the seventh, but he did not. However, it was good. He was great. 11 strikeouts. He did allow the 2-run home run and one other run as well, but that's okay because your offense was humming. It was a great outing for him. and you really, really want to see your Friday night guy do what he did on a regular basis. I mean, if he can give you 6 1/3, right, or 6 2/3, I think it was 6 1/3. Yeah, 6 1/3.
Yeah.
Only allowing 3 runs with this offense. I'll take it. I will. And then of course Connor Benj come in. Benj probably had his. I don't want to say bad or worse because
it wasn't like super bad. Like
it was his toughest outing of the season. It was. He's been very consistent, so not concerned. But he allowed 2 runs. That's where their 5th run comes from. And then DJ Primo came in and Zach Cowan came in, and they were solid. Zach Primo was used all 3 games. I think it's very evident that Jay Johnson wants to use Primo in certain situations. He did not extend really any of his outings. I think it was very situational. And I kind of like Jay Johnson's comment. Primo allowed a run on Sunday, and in his post-game press conference, he was like, he's like, if you could just put that on Jay Johnson's ERA and not Primo's. He was like, probably don't need to use Primo 3 days straight. He was like, but I liked the matchup, and so I brought Primo in. He said, so instead of putting that ERA towards Primo, you can just put it on Jay Johnson's ERA for bringing him out the 3rd day. But I was pleased with Primo this weekend. I think he did what he was supposed to do. Again, not elite stuff and not just super wow all the time, but he was very situational this weekend and did what he was supposed to do. Cowan was fantastic on Friday night as well. I was kind of surprised to see him come in at that point. I really was. But he came in. He only pitched 17 pitches, so you were thinking, okay, he's certainly available for another game if you need him to be. Zach, in that first game, they actually jumped out to the early lead. Lovich hit the 2-run home run. Zach, you quickly responded. Luis Hernandez, who is kind of finding his offense.
He's found his footing.
Right. Yes, found his footing and just becoming a little bit more consistent. And I'm really excited about that because it's just another spot in the lineup. But Zach, what I'm trying to get at, and the biggest surprise of the weekend, and then we can move towards Saturday. I'll let you talk a little bit about Saturday. Zach, was Michael Braswell. I mean, I was stunned. I really was shocked. I understood that you were facing left-handed pitching, right?
Yeah.
And so you wanted more righty bats in the lineup. So when I saw Braswell, I was like, okay, he's stuffing the lineup with righties. But Zach, you did not see Tanner Reeves one single pitch.
That was pretty surprising. I will say
that shocked me. It shocked me. Braswell, maybe your better defensive option at third base. But man, I really expected that when the left-hander was pulled each day and you potentially got a right-hander of the bullpen, I was
for Tanner to come in.
Yeah,
because Jay did the same thing with Fry on Friday. Started Ethan Fry over Jake Brown.
That's right.
And then as soon as the right-hander came in, insert Jake Brown, which I was fine with that, but really feels like you probably should have Jake Brown in to start every single game.
Never take him out again.
But I figured that, like, when we saw Fry was starting the game, I was like, as soon as they go to a righty, you're going to see Jake Brown. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah. So I was figuring the same thing, Reagan, with Braswell. Okay, whenever they, get through the lefty, and they go to the righty,
that's what I thought.
Then we'll see Tanner Reeves, but trusted your veteran guy, and he delivered for you specifically on Saturday.
Oh yeah, I mean, drove in 3 runs for you on Saturday. The suicide squeeze
twice.
Executed perfectly, and then yes, the safety squeeze, and gets on base with the second one,
Yep.
and then finally got his first non what am I trying to say, bunt. You got a swinging hit for it feels like for the first time in forever, and man, that was like, you looked at that and you're like, okay, man, you just feel good for him. Was happy to see Brazzy this week. Yes. And Zach, Braswell is such a team guy. If you don't watch any post game stuff, watch post game stuff every now and then. You learn a lot.
Yeah.
Braswell was interviewed in a post game. I think it was after the Saturday game because he was wearing the pinstripes. And it was his 3 RBI day. Was asked about the limited playing time and just flat out was like, I could care less. He was like, doesn't bother me one bit. Not worried about it. I want to see this team win. I want us to make it to Omaha. I'm willing to do whatever it takes for this team to win. Whatever it is, I will play that role. That was awesome because, by golly, Zach, I mean, it certainly looked like Tanner Reeves had clutched hold of that third base position. And, buddy, you were surprised this weekend to watch Braswell pretty much get every single rep at third base of importance and produced.
And raised his batting average 100 points.
Absolutely. He did. And so I'm happy for him. We all expected him to be a very key player this year. So certainly didn't need to write him off. I don't think we did write him off. I'm just saying, like, he's not out of it by any stretch of the imagination, and he certainly proved that this weekend, that he can be a key contributor and be very effective, and he was. I was happy for him, Zach. But yeah, to Jake Brown, Zach, I think he had 6 RBIs on the weekend, 4 RBIs on Friday in just 2 at-bats. 2 at-bats, 2 hits, 4 RBIs.
Yeah.
He was excellent. Sunday sent an absolute moonshot to the diamond deck.
Yeah.
Jake Brown
out either way, but the win made it even better.
Yeah, it didn't need the win, but yes, the win certainly made that ball go a long way.
Yeah.
And dude, he's just impressive. He is a very he's a 5-tool guy in my opinion. He really is. Hopefully the power can come on a little bit more. You see a little bit more of those big swings, and he really, really will be a 5-tool guy. I mean, you're talking about run, catch, defense, contact for sure. That power can come on. I mean, he is everything that you want. Personally, I think Jake Brown should be in the lineup regardless of a left-handed, right-handed batter. Period. Jake Brown's in the lineup. And that's hard, man. It's so stinking hard because then Fry comes in and goes 3 for 3.
Yeah. On Saturday, yeah.
And we've seen what Josh Pearson can do as well. I was like, I don't envy Jay Johnson. How do you make those decisions? That's why he's the head guy and I'm not, Zach. I would not want to make those lineup cards every single weekend in SEC play. It'd be hard to project, okay, who's going to do what. But I feel like, Zach, after this weekend, I really think Jake Brown needs to be in the lineup. I really think he does. With that being said, he produced 4 on Friday. Zach, with that being said, talk a little bit about Saturday specifically. That was your closest game, tightest game. Tell me a little bit about that and how it all unfolded.
Josh Pearson stayed hot, right? He had one hit in game 1. In game 2, he starts off the first inning with a 2-run home run to get the game going, which was really encouraging. Yep. Then, of course, you had Braswell with the suicide squeeze that was able to bolster LSU's lead. And then, Reagan, really, it was the 9-hole hitter for Missouri, Knutson, that really did all their damage. Yeah. He was the one that was doing really all the damage for them in game 2. He had a 3-run jack there in the 4th inning, and then in the 7th inning, he hit a solo shot to give them 5 runs to get them to 5. So was responsible for runs 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yep. So, really, the bottom of their lineup did most of the damage. Literally, the bottom of the lineup did most of the damage there. But, Braswell, then again in the 4th inning, LSU got things going in the 4th inning after they took the 4-3 lead. It was really good to see LSU immediately answer with 3 runs of their own after Missouri took a 4-3 lead. Braswell, of course, was able to get the bunt single to score and tie everything up, to score Milam and tie everything up. And then you have bases loaded and Bears coming to the plate, and everybody wants him to hit a home run, but he does what he should, which is just be a really mature batter, and hits a single the opposite way and scores 2, and LSU goes up 6-7, and they never relinquish the lead from then on out. Braswell added an RBI there in the 5th to make the lead 7-4. Missouri added a run on the solo shot, and in the 7th, they added another run there in the 7th on a sacrifice. What's up, Zeke? Good night, bud.
He's tired.
I can tell.
Night.
I can tell.
I love you, buddy.
Yep.
Okay. Tempo. Love you, buddy.
I don't know a single thing he said, but
he said, "Mama, let me finish my video, and now I'm really tired."
There you go. The bottom of the lineup was really the highlight for LSU in Saturday's game. Braswell, of course, had 2-hit night. Stanfield had a 2-hit night as well. Yeah. And then Jones, Dickinson, Pearson, they all had a hit themselves. Curiel, not, it seems crazy, but dude still gets on base, has an 0-for-3 night, and we're like, yeah, he had an off night. He's just so good at the plate. Was able to still draw a walk there in that game and get on base. So he's just so good as a leadoff hitter. The issue from Saturday's game, Reagan, was Ianson was not able to extend. And if you remember, Reagan, we talked about it in the last podcast that one of the biggest things that I wanted to see was all the starters be able to extend by pitching efficiently.
Yeah.
Right. They've been able to get up in their pitch count, 80, 90 pitches. All of them have been. But as far as getting deep into the ball game, 7th, 8th inning, we have not seen that yet. Now, I will say Cade Anderson did extend a little bit on Friday. He was able to get past the 6th inning and get into the 7th. Would have loved to see him finish the 7th there, but he didn't. But he got into the 7th, which was really good. Unfortunately, though, on Saturday, Ianson was not able to make it out of the 4th inning. Goes 3 2/3, and then gets replaced by Connor Ware. So Ianson, the thing with Ianson in this game is he really wasn't struggling with command. He was just getting touched up. They were squaring up his pitches and getting hits. He allowed 7 hits on the day in those 3 2/3. Yeah. You just can't have that out of your starter. You got to be able to really locate within the zone. He was in the zone, but as far as locating in the zone, that's where he struggled with. So he was leaving pitches high up in the zone near the belt, and Missouri is a really good hitting team, and they were squaring them up, and that's why they had 7 hits through the 3 2/3. But whenever He was really good at locating. He had 5 strikeouts out of those 11 outs that he recorded. So almost half the outs he recorded were via the strikeout. Just really struggled as far as location. Connor Ware came in. I thought he had a really good bounce back game, Reagan.
Definitely.
He wasn't like, wow, like that looks like the Connor Ware that we saw against Dallas Baptist. But he came in, pitched 1 and a 1/3, had 2 strikeouts, didn't give up a hit. And I think I don't think he walked anybody. Reagan, did he walk anybody? No, he didn't walk anybody.
No, and he also came in and got you out of a jam
with a strikeout.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought Connor Ware did his job. He came in and did his job, which
definitely
he's been struggling recently. The sad thing was, we had discussed, okay, Connor Ware, here's going to be your opportunity to potentially be somebody that could push one of the starters for being in the weekend rotation. And then 2 outings after that, he doesn't look good, falters, and he kind of gets out of that conversation. In comes William Schmidt. William Schmidt looks really good. In comes the conversation about him potentially entering the weekend rotation. And then you had Friday's outing, which was not good. Schmidt did pitch a full inning, but gave up a hit and walked 3. That was the issue. Just didn't have his command. Now, maybe that's an outlier for him. We'll see. Because for really the rest of the season, the preseason prior to conference play, regular season prior to conference play, he has looked really good in all of his outings, except for Friday.
Yeah.
So that was a little disappointing. Maybe it's an outlier, but
you hope it is.
Yep. Reagan, we discussed also the importance of when you throw Connor Ware. Or excuse me, when you throw Zach Cowan.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, on Friday, because of the issues that LSU had after they went to Cade Anderson with Connor Bench, which I told you, if you remember, I told you I think they're going to go Cade, Connor Bench, and then ideally Connor Bench finishes game 1, right? And then Zach Cowan could come in game 2. Or Sunday if, it's not a close game. So we were hoping to see Connor Ware in game 2 or game 3. But unfortunately, with Connor Bench struggling the way that he did on Friday, Zach Cowan had to come in and pitch in the Friday game and be able to stabilize things, and LSU wins comfortably. Then you get into this situation where Missouri's not going away, and you have to try and figure out the pitching. So you go to Connor Ware. He does pretty good. Then you go to William Schmidt, who's a freshman, first time SEC action, doesn't perform well. In that spot, most likely, Reagan, what we're going to see is if you have Zach Cowan available and Anthony Ianson only gives you 3 2/3. If he had not pitched Friday, you're going to Zach Cowan. No doubt. You're going to Zach Cowan, seeing if he can get you through the lineup, at least once, maybe start to go through the lineup a second time. But because of having to go to him Friday because of Benj's performance, you had to go to some guys that have been a little shaky. You had to go to Connor Ware, who was a little shaky. He passed the test. You had to go to William Schmidt, who you've trusted, but true freshman in that scenario struggled a little bit. DJ Primo, been a little off and on. I thought he looked really good Saturday. He only gave you 2/3 of an inning, but was effective, got guys out, didn't have a strikeout, but, was able to get guys out on contact. And then Kason Evans comes in, Reagan, and that's when things got really dicey, right? So Kason Evans comes in, and he is able to get you out of the 7th, but then in the 8th, he struggles, right? Hits a batter, which was really questionable. I know some people wanted it reviewed as far as if it actually hit him or not. Regardless, gets on base. Then he walks a guy, and then you're in some dangerous water, Reagan.
Yep.
But then Kason Evans did what Kason Evans has done this entire season so far, and that is dominate the strike zone. and really just be the closer that he's been come to be known as. And so gives you 2 1/3 and was really dominant outside of that slow start there in the 8th inning. He had 4 strikeouts in those 2 1/3 and just was really, really impressive. Reagan struck out. What was it, Reagan? I think he struck out the first batter and the second batter starting the 9th, and then the third batter hit the weak little grounder that went right back to him, and and he was able to get the final out. So LSU won.
Somebody got on base. Somebody did get on base in the night, but
yeah, you're right.
It was immediately after that.
That's right. So overall, Casey Evans looked impressive. Connor Ware, good bounce back game. You really liked what you saw to Cade Anderson, obviously on Friday. Zach Cowan has just been so super consistent. You really would have liked to see a little bit better performance from Schmidt there in game 2. But I think we'll look back on this game and see more of that as an outlier, because he's proven that he has been a lot more consistent throughout the season so far. LSU gets the win. They win the series. And then all it was, Reagan, was will LSU sweep on Sunday?
Yeah, and they did, and the good news is they really did it in comfortable fashion. You got a very similar performance in your starting line, pitching wise. Chase Shores only gave you
3 2/3.
Yep. Was touched up, but your offense got going really, really early. Curiel, like he always does. First inning, gets walked. Jared Jones gets struck out. Danny Dickinson comes up. He gets hit. And then Ethan Fry this was his big game. Ethan Fry, with 2 guys on base, doubles down the line, driving in Curiel. Then it's like, I believe it's Fry's on second. Dickinson's on third with 1 out in the first. I want to say somebody hit a ground ball to drive in Dickinson, and so that made it 2 outs, and it was 2-0. And I believe that's when I want to say that's when Jake Brown came in and hit the home run. I know he hit the home run in the first inning. I can't remember how the second run got drove in. It was either a ground ball or a
Milam sacrificed.
Okay.
Sacrificed Dickinson in. Yeah.
I knew it wasn't like a hit. Like they got somehow they got drove in. And then Jake Brown comes up after that and hits the long ball. And immediately you're up 4-0 the first inning. And it really, Zach, set the tone for the game. The next inning, Shores battled some. They scratched a run across, got his pitch count up pretty good. You didn't have a response. They scratched another one across in the third, but you responded with 1 in the third as well. That one, it was 5-2. They scored another one, and then you responded with another big inning of 3, and pretty much from there you cruised out, and then added another one in the 5th and the 7th, and you win it 10-5. Chase, though, again, like Ianson, touched up a good bit. Too many walks, I would say, as well. He had more walks. So, I mean, 4 hits, 3 walks. He gave up 3 runs. It wasn't his best performance. I mean, so, a lot of people are talking about, could somebody be replacing? Could somebody get put into a starting rotation? You have 2 guys who are battling right now. I don't think any move is going to be made. I'll be honest.
Well, Ryan and Tyler have already mentioned it. If Anthony keeps struggling, Cowan might be moving up to start. Cowan needs to start. Ianson is going to get peppered in the rest of the SEC if he doesn't get the ball down.
Well, here's the deal. I'll disagree a little bit. Okay, I'm not like vehemently disagreeing. If it continues, sure, I'd like to see Cowan get a start. If this path continues, here's the thing though: is with Ianson, we've seen when he's been really good. I mean, last week
15 Ks,
15 Ks, and he extended into the 7th inning.
That's good against anybody, even North Alabama.
You really like that. This week, step up in competition wasn't as good. I want to see more in SEC play, and this weekend will certainly be a test on the road against Texas. I'm not making the move yet. The only thing is we're making this argument that Ianson maybe, SEC, it's a little different. But the same is true for Cowan. He started at Wofford. I'm not discrediting him, but that's true of him as well. Cowan also has less pitches than Ianson has to offer. Cowan is not you can go to Wofford and his fastball is enough. It's a high 80s, low 90s type fastball. And he really relies on his changeup to get him out of certain situations. So that's why Zach Cowan is a really, really good bullpen pitcher for you at LSU. It's a switch up in pace.
And he could get you 3 innings.
Yes. And he's good. He's good, I think, one time through the lineup, 2-3 innings. In SEC play, though, if you don't have an elite fastball, which Cowan does not, I'm not saying his fastball is bad, but it's, you're talking about some of our freshmen are throwing 95, 97. Yeah. Right? Cowan doesn't have that. He has a mix, a change up, and he can place. He's very good at placing his pitches. And that's why he's good, I think, out of the bullpen. He's your best bullpen arm right now, Zach. Yeah. Do you really, really want to pull him out of that? I don't know if you do.
TT said Greg Maddox only threw 91, just saying.
It's true. It's a different time, though. Different time. 91 is pretty common in the SEC now.
That's true.
Pretty common. Not knocking Greg Maddox, though. My point is, here's my point, is Ianson and Cowan both came from non-Power 5 teams. So I think you would see some of the similar things. I think Ianson has the ability with his mix of pitches to extend further than what Cowan could. And also, if you remove Cowan from the bullpen, you're taking your best bullpen arm out right now. And we have seen in Jay's tenure that he likes some of his best pitchers to be the first guys out of the bullpen. You talk about Griffin Herring, Gavin Guidry, was it Cooper Riley?
Riley Cooper.
Riley Cooper, excuse me.
Reagan, come on.
Riley Cooper. Like some of his most dependable arms were guys he wanted out coming out of the bullpen. Right now, I want Cowan coming out of the bullpen. I want him to be the guy to follow up Ianson on Saturday, Shores on Sunday, if something like this happens. That's what I want. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying my opinion is right, but I don't like removing Cowan from the bullpen right now. I don't. He is very reliable. He is good enough to come in and get you 2-3 innings when you really need it. And you need a guy to do that right now, and he's been your most consistent.
If you poll LSU baseball fans, it's going to be of what is LSU's biggest issue, and obviously it's in our title. But everybody, the majority of people are going to say bullpen issues. Bullpen. So to a lot of people's point, as Reagan is saying, why would you hurt what is the best side of the bullpen? Now, as Reagan also mentioned, if it's something that continues, but also like Reagan, I feel like that's why you gotta save Cowan for Saturday or Sunday. Like you got to, for the most part that Cade Anderson is going to probably get you 5 or 6, right? So then you can have somebody, Kason Evans, Connor Benj, piece it together to get you through Friday. I really feel like in order for LSU to have a lot of success in the SEC, Cade Anderson has got to get you through 5 or 6 every weekend. I know that's probably not, that's really a lot to ask, but ideally, Cade Anderson gets you through 5 or 6 on Friday. Binge and Case and Evans piece it together to finish that Friday game, and then you have Zach Cowan for when Anthony Ianson struggles. If Ianson struggles and you got to pull him in the 2nd or 3rd inning, you can go to Cowan and get you to the 5th or 6th inning.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the point that, everybody's trying, like a lot of people are trying to make. I've heard other podcasters say the same thing. Like, why would you pull Cowan out when he's your best bullpen arm? Because of the fact that Ianson or Shores will struggle. Now, what if Cade goes and does what he does, Ianson goes what he does, and then Chase struggles? Well, then you've got Cowan again, who can give you 2 to 3 innings, and I mean that's a third of a baseball game, which is a massive part. And as I have been hitting on a lot here recently, that 3rd, 4th, 5th inning, that 4th, 5th, 6th inning, that is a crucial part of the game. It's the separator, right?
Yeah.
It's the moving day. It's the quote moving day, if you will. So yeah, I'm with you, Reagan. You need to have Zach Cowan as your ace up the sleeve, right? That he needs to be your ace up the sleeve. So not that we're disagreeing with you, Tyler. It's just that, because he could, you could also, if you want to go with Tyler's standpoint, you could start Zach Cowan and he could give you 2 to 3, maybe, and then see how far he can extend until people start touching him up, and then try to piece it together. But who are you going to go to? That's the point. That's the major point, is after that, who do you go to? So you've got, now, if you have some guys develop, Reagan, if you have some guys that can be more consistent and that gets to a point where Jay Johnson can trust him more, could you see that happen? Yeah. Would I be okay with that happen? Yes. But that's if there's more guys coming out of the bullpen that we trust and we know what they're going to do. You've got to be able to build some consistency in the bullpen with some of these guys. If you do that, then I think the question of Cowan potentially taking a starting spot really begins to become more of a headline. So we'll see, Reagan. But for right now, I mean, he's nails coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah, and again, I get the thought of having Cowan. My point is, I feel like if you reverse the roles, it would be similar. I think it would be similar. I think Ianson could come in and be very, very dominant out of the bullpen for 2-3 innings, and we're like, man. Like, I think if the roles reversed, we'd be like, man, Ianson, he needs to get a star, and Cowan would be getting touched up. I really think that after a trip through the lineup, SEC offenses would figure out Cowan pretty quickly, because the mix of pitches are not all there, and he doesn't have an elite fastball. I think roles reversed, you would see something similar. So that's my thought. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Ianson keeps struggling and Cowan gets a shot at it. I don't know. But right now, Ianson has not been consistently bad enough for me to pull him out, in my opinion. I think it's his first weekend in SEC play. It's his first weekend in SEC play. Really, did Shores make it to SEC play in his freshman weekend?
In his freshman season,
like 18 total weekends or 18 total innings his whole freshman season. I think 18 innings. I don't think he made it to the SEC play.
Yeah, he did. He pitched in the South Carolina game. That's when he got hurt.
Okay, so he pitched a couple innings in SEC. So, like, you're talking about two of your guys who are just now really, really starting to see SEC pitching for real, and we'll see it consistently. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I want to see more before I make a decision on that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We need to get to some comments, Reagan. The comments are really popping tonight, which is awesome.
Good.
Really, really enjoy seeing that. So y'all keep on coming in and commenting. Ryan said Cowan also has an elastic arm. He pitched twice for the Woolford Conference tournament to get to the regional. That's why he didn't face LSU. Exactly. Like that's why you want him to come out of the bullpen. He's got an elastic arm. Like that kind of RP kind of proves the point there towards the thought process of having him come out of the bullpen. Ryan said you have to paint the corners of the SEC off-speed pitches with control. Yes, very much so. TT says Einstein is going to get beat off the mound throwing belt-high pitches in SEC play. Let's see if he continues to struggle like this, right?
And I agree. You can't leave pitches belt-high in the SEC. If he keeps doing it, he will get beat off the mound.
Correct.
But let's also remember that Nate Yeske is your pitching coach, long time, probably most tenured, most decorated pitching coach in all of college baseball right now. Like, he knows better than any of us. I think he sees the issue. Certainly they're working on that, hopefully.
Yeah. RP said, I wouldn't think a move like that happens until Guidry comes back. And again, that's like I said, could that potentially be a thing? Yes, but you got to have more guys that you trust coming out of the bullpen in order to make that move. And right now, they just don't have that. They just don't. So, TT,
I think it would be more likely if Guidry was there.
TT, to go with your point, I'm not saying you're wrong because you very well could be right. But for now, you got to have some more guys that you trust coming out of the bullpen, and you just don't have that right now. TT said Schmidt is going to be the other mid-relief pitcher. Yep. Hopefully he can bounce back from this past weekend. We got a new guy. We got a new guy coming in here. Lucian Trey Mixon. All right. I like it. Lucian, I hope I'm saying that right. So if I'm saying that wrong, please correct me. Lucian said this weekend was a sweep. It was very refreshing, but we can't settle. Let's keep it rolling. Yeah. It only gets tougher from now. From now on out, obviously this upcoming weekend is going to be
big test,
a big matchup for sure. Let's see. The 15 strikeout game would never happen in the SEC.
Maybe not.
Probably not.
Yeah. I
would
disagree.
It was impressive regardless of who you're playing. 15 strikeouts in a game. I mean, we were elated whenever Cade Anderson threw 13 against Southeastern last year. Like, everybody was off the rails. Like, holy cow, this guy's insane, right? So, anyways, let's see. He said, I'm just not a Guidry fan more than an inning. We'll see. I think we'll see, TT. I think, I'm going to be honest, Reagan, I honestly tend to lean kind of that way. Just being honest with you. I've got to see this year what Guidry looks like after a whole inning.
He's got to make it to the mound first.
He's got to make it now first. Yeah, for real. I know they want to try and extend him more than they have in his first 2 years.
Right.
And I love Guidry. He's awesome. I mean, that curveball is, it's awesome. He's got to, but with him, he's got to be really good with location. He's got to locate his fastball very well, so that it can set up that really good breaking ball. So yeah, I'm kind of with you, TT, on that. To be honest with you,
to be determined for sure.
To be determined though. Yeah, let's see, because I think they are going to try and test his arm as far as how far can he go. this year, because really you need it. I mean, right now you definitely need it with the struggles that you've had in the bullpen. So, anyways, Reagan, any more comments before we get to the break? We are 56 minutes in and haven't even gone on break.
I don't. I think that we've pretty much covered most of them. I think so.
Yep.
So we'll talk about women's seeding and all things tournament right after this.
5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Go check out all his other music on all the major platforms. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and at Twitter at One Nation Doty. Don't forget to check out his Facebook page for all his Saints and LSU merchandise. Can't get any better than Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Her firm focuses on the needs of the elderly and maintaining their dignity throughout the process. Here for you, here for your family. Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law.
Right back at it here in the Tigers Avenue show. Zach, women's basketball this past Sunday received news that they are indeed the 3 seed in UCLA's region. They get to play at home. They are matched up with the 14th seed in San Diego State. Zach, give me your thoughts on LSU's draw, and do you like it? Do you not like it? How do you see things playing out with this draw for the LSU Tigers?
For the most part, I like it, Reagan. Obviously, UCLA, really, really good team. But for the most part, I like it. LSU is going to be at home, obviously, versus San Diego State. If they win that game, they will host either Florida State or George Mason at home. That matchup is going to be intriguing, Reagan, because that should be the closest matchup in this region with UCLA. You've got Richmond and Georgia Tech in there, Ole Miss, Ball State, Baylor. LSU could potentially be playing Kim Mulkey's old team if Baylor is able to get past Grand Canyon and either or Ole Miss or Ball State, and if LSU is able to win their first 2 games. So obviously Baylor will be hosting those first 2 games if they win the first one. So potentially you could see a matchup of LSU versus Baylor in the Sweet 16. The good news, Reagan, about this region is that you're also your 2 seed the 2 seed in this region is NC State. So if LSU advances as far as we hope they do, if NC State advances as far as they hope they do, then LSU would see NC State. I believe that'd be, what would it be, the Reagan, the Elite 8? Yeah, the Elite 8. So they would see NC State in the Elite 8. LSU has played NC State this season. And the last time LSU played NC State this season, when they did play this season, they beat them by 17.
That's right.
So LSU has proven that. So I do like the matchup or the draw as far as if you make it, if you want to get to the Final Four, the pathway to that, obviously you get 2 games at home. You got to play Baylor, which would be really, really tough. But, Kim Mulkey versus Baylor, I kind of like that matchup. Maybe there'd be a little bit of motivation that Baylor would have, but I think there'd be some motivation behind Kim Mulkey as well. So that'd be a really cool matchup. So if you can get past the Sweet 16, whether it's Baylor or whoever, and NC State meets you in the Elite 8, I really like that matchup, Reagan. So
you're based on what I'm looking at, you're actually going to be paired with NC State in the Sweet 16, and you would potentially play Baylor in an Elite 8.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, because Baylor would play UCLA. Yeah, so you're right. So you would see NC State then in the Sweet 16. You're right. I'm looking at it now.
If the favorites win, yeah.
So that makes me even more confident that you could potentially make it the Final Four, right? Yeah, because you'd be playing.
You'd probably have to beat UCLA to make it to the Final Four, but yes.
I'm sorry.
Elite 8.
Elite 8, yes. The Elite 8. is what we're talking about. I really like LSU's chances to make the Elite Eight. You got 2 games at home, and then you play a team that you beat by 17 earlier this year. Now, obviously they've progressed. LSU's, the teams have changed a little bit, right? Obviously, there's been some progression there for both teams. How does that look? But LSU being matched up against NC State potentially in the Elite Eight, I think is very favorable. Yeah. So then you'd have to go beat a team like UCLA or Baylor, if they obviously. So I like it, Reagan. Now, once you get past the Elite Eight, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough for LSU. So you need to win the first 2 games at home. Then you get a potentially favorable matchup against NC State if they advance. That could get you to the Final Four against, a team like UCLA or Baylor. Either way, if you're playing Baylor or UCLA, that's a really cool matchup. Obviously, I think a lot of fans.
You'd be playing Baylor or UCLA in the Elite Eight.
Oh, so when they play NC State, you're killing me.
NC State
Sweet 16.
Sweet 16. Elite Eight would be
okay.
The Elite Eight is the final of your region.
Okay, got it.
And then the winner of is the winner of the region, and that's who goes to the Final Four.
Okay,
is the 4 regional winners.
So I like their chance to make the Elite Eight.
Yes.
Thank you. So I just sounded really stupid right there, but anyways, whatever.
I knew what you were saying. I think
you understood what I was saying.
I knew what you meant.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Reagan. So potentially in the Elite Eight, you could meet UCLA or Baylor, which would be a really cool matchup. I mean, obviously, a lot of fans would love to see LSU play Baylor. Be cool to see LSU play UCLA. It'd be obviously a huge matchup against the 1 seed. But LSU has got to get things done first against San Diego State, and we'll preview that on Thursday. LSU is going to play San Diego State this upcoming Saturday. It'll be on ESPN late 9:15 p.m. It's in Spokane. That's why.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's going to be midnight by the time you're going to bed and knowing if LSU has gotten past the first round or not. So LSU does, though, when you look at the spread for all these teams, as of right now, and obviously it'll depend on who UCLA faces in their first matchup, but LSU has the greatest margin of spread there in their side of the bracket in the Spokane Region 1. So that's encouraging. So it shows you what odds makers view of LSU. So, NC State, they're going to be playing, let's see, in the first round. They're playing Vermont in the first round, 20.5-point spread. Florida State and Georgia Mason, this is the team. Those are the 2 teams you could potentially face in the next round, in the round of 32. Mm-hmm. Those teams have a very tight spread.
Yeah.
Only 4-point spread. Yeah. So that could be a really interesting matchup to look for. You very easily could be playing either Florida State or George Mason. George Mason is a good team as well. Only coming as an 11 seed, but it shows you what odds makers think of their matchup versus Florida State.
Yeah. Well, Zach, I like it all. I like the draw, like you were saying. When I saw that NC State was the team that you could be potentially playing to get into the Elite Eight, considering what happened this year, you like your chances. My expectation for LSU is the Elite Eight this year. That's kind of like, if I don't want to say that's their ceiling, but that's kind of like if LSU makes the Elite Eight this year, I feel like with this team that would be a success.
That'd be good. Yeah.
So with
they
this
get past the Elite Eight, then that's phenomenal. Exceeding expectations.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. With that being said, Zach, Dad did bring up a point. We're an hour and 6 minutes in. I'll address it briefly since we're talking about basketball. Here's the deal. LSU, they got an invitation to the NIT by default.
Literally
by default. The NIT now has 2 automatic bids for the SEC, and there was literally only 2 teams in the SEC that did not make it to March Madness. So LSU and South Carolina both were invited to the NIT because that was the only 2 teams available. Literally. You were not invited to the NIT unless – I mean, if there were other teams that did not make it to the NCAA tournament, you weren't going to be invited. It was a horrible season. You were invited by default. It was the right move to decline. South Carolina declined as well. It was a horrible season.
Both teams, horrible seasons.
Yeah, both teams. I mean, it was even worse for South Carolina. You were not a good team this year. It's time to move on. You don't need to go play in the NIT. And word on the street is you barely could probably field a team. That's kind of rumors on the street, is that LSU, number-wise and injury-wise, may not even – anyways, not worth it. Totally not worth it. It was
move on to the offseason. Let's see what LSU does in the transfer portal, recruiting, holding on to your current players.
Yeah. They announced more NIL support. Zach, they are pledging $5 million in NIL up front. That is outside of revenue sharing. So you're talking about a lot of money that could potentially be being invested into the basketball program. We'll see. I will certainly be withholding my expectations, even if the transfer portal is like holy moly. Yeah. The expectations will be limited.
Yep.
As they should be. All right, guys. With that being said, we're an hour and 8 minutes in. Appreciate y'all being in here. It was a great weekend for the LSU Tigers. They get to sweep with Missouri. And you're playing, New Orleans. You're playing New Orleans tomorrow night for the midweek game. Hopefully LSU can take care of business there, move on to Austin. Big weekend, and we'll preview it for you. Zach, I need to check the schedule. There's a lot of games this year that the series are starting on Thursday.
LSU will play them on Friday. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay,
7 p.m., 6 p.m., 2 p.m.
There's a lot of series that are starting on Thursday, though, this year. Oklahoma starts on Thursday. Anyways, Friday, Saturday, Sunday against Texas in Austin. Big weekend matchup. We'll preview it for you on Thursday. Looking forward to that. Appreciate you guys being here. Y'all were awesome tonight in the comments. Lots of comments, lots of interaction.
Appreciate all of y'all joining.
Thank you, all you guys.
Like, share, and subscribe, please.
We will see you next time here in the Tigers Avenue Show. Bye, so here, take us out. Peace.
Who that fire stuff?